her alone.
I've got one about the same age.
I know.
Yes. Doing a good job. Hi, Randy. Happy New Year. Same to you. Even if there was, it can't. Yeah.
Been delayed a week, I guess.
Yeah.
Right.
Adjourned it for another
Next
week.
week, so.
The general's office, Bill Mulderland is open.
He does it for the nonprofits, you know.
Oh, sure.
We appreciate it, so.
Let's adjourn for another week.
I don't think I have to be there. so.
Randy's smart enough to stay away.
A publisher in the newspaper raises chickens, yeah.
Day after I finished the meeting, I've been listening to my audio, download audiobooks for free, and they're great. And so I wanted,
Keep them busy.
we don't have any adult videos. Audio,
Really?
audio books, audio tapes,
Yeah.
downloads.
We'll try and, how are you? Nice to use this. Just talking with Brad Van Ripper. You know Brad?
Trouble falling asleep, I said.
They get a Jeep through the part of, most of Nuremberg.
Did your Jeeps have those bars in the front, Don? Did they have the,
You know what that was for?
I assume for kind
Germans used to lay a wire across the highway to head people.
right.
So they put the bar up with a notch and it would break the wire across the highway. So all the Jeeps ended up with an angle with the bar in a notch, so they cut the wire. I was working in switchboard on communications, and there were about 10 or 12 of us. We worked a couple hours a day on each shift.
Okay.
Kind of thing. So, and but you had to have a special pass to get into the courtroom, which I got in twice. Lineup of them were there each day.
The defendants?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Now we have images here, more publicity type shots. Do you remember what they looked like when they were on trial?
Well, they were like the classic pictures you see all lined up, real somber. The visitor gallery's up to one side and held probably about 25 or 30 people at most. So we had kind of a narrow view looking down on where the defendants were. But not a large room. Pretty crowded. But it was an interesting time.
Sure.
The city managed to get back operating. They got their streetcars running, and Red Cross came in, so we had cocoa and donuts. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much. Yeah, there's an influence of a new church. Well, the actual pictures. The actual physical they have.
Well, these are all prisoners that were in the Nuremberg prison.
Just right.
And I got these from my friend of my father's, was a guard in Nuremberg.
Okay. So there's the source then. If
Yep.
it's a friend.
He was a guard, and they would give him a note, and then he would go, get him white bread or whatever it is
Sure.
he wanted. Or somebody else
I guess
would.
sleeping pills is a common thing. They must have had a lot on their mind.
Turn
I
the
did
heat up,
Italian.
turn the heat down, yeah.
Actually, 5 of these people were executed.
Well, Bruce had the notes, and so we decided we wanted to put those on display. But we also had an amazing collection of photographs here of Ray Dario's photographs. And he was a photographer at Nuremberg, and he photographed the trial mostly. But during his off time, when the trial wasn't happening, he would go around and he would take photographs of Nuremberg, the city, and then he also went to other places in Europe as well and photographed the devastation of the towns and how people were living after World War II. And we have close to 200 of those photographs in our collection. And we have some of them on display of the trial in our auditorium. They're always there for people to see. These are his photographs documenting that time. And then the notes, obviously, are from the prisoners. And so what I think is really interesting about the notes is that mere months earlier, these men were in control. I mean, they were ultimately out to dominate the world. And now they're in a cell block, handing notes to the guards. And they're really formal notes. You can see how formal they are. But they're asking for sleeping pills and other things that they need. And it's just kind of how history, you know, goes in these circles, and how they were now hopefully going to be in trial and the justice happened for what the crimes they committed. So kind of two different stories here, one of the German people and another of the trial, but they're all connected and tied together. And Nuremberg, the city, was a very symbolic place because of everything that happened there during the Nazi, with the Nazi party. I mean, Hitler spoke there a lot. There was the Nuremberg rallies. It was a place of Nazi kind of propaganda. So it was a symbolism holding the trials there, but obviously you can see the destruction that happened as well. So that's kind of a little bit about how I put together the exhibit. But Bruce has his own stories.
Yeah, I've had these for a while, and how do you display this stuff in your house? I don't really know without making it a morbid place. So this is a really good place to display it. There's some context at the Jackson Center with these notes. I think maybe the first year the Jackson Center was in existence, I read a book by a gentleman named Michel Thomas, who had escaped from 3 different concentration camps. And he grew up as a Jew in Poland. And his book is fascinating. Just a fascinating account of his World War II experiences. And he actually helped capture a German colonel named, he was in the Malmedy massacre. Now I can't remember his name. An SS colonel. He executed all the Americans at Malmedy in the Battle of the Bulge. He helped capture him after World War II. And I read his book, and I'm like, you know, I'm with the Jackson Center. He may not know we really don't exist yet, but he's probably heard of Jackson, right? So I called this publisher and said, I'd like to talk to Michel Thomas. And he called me back the next day from London. Michel Thomas did. And which surprised me. And I thought, hey, being on the board of the Jackson Center is pretty cool. But I asked him if I could interview him. Because I have from time to time interviewed people that were in World War II. And so Steve Cass and I went to Manhattan and flew out and interviewed him. And in the course of the interview, I had wanted to ask him a question that I'd never had a chance to ask people. And I've read a lot about World War II and the Holocaust. And what keeps going through my head, and still goes through my head, is how can people do that to each other? How can people do that? And I've never, through all the books I've read, I've never found an answer to that. Through all the pictures and all the trial, never found an answer. And so I asked him when we were having lunch, and Steve Cass was with me, and he said, Bruce, do you remember when I called you from London? I said, yeah. He said, do you remember when I asked you if you were Jewish? And I said, yeah. He said, when you said no, what happened? I said, well, I thought you hung up the phone. He said, I was just pausing. I had to convince myself not to hate you. He said, I was brought up in Poland, and if you were Polish, and my name is Janowski, and not Jewish, that means we hated you and you hated us. He said, we were taught that from an early age. And it was the same in France, and it was the same in other places in the world. He said, so being in a concentration camp, never once did I say, how could you do this to other people? He said, it made perfect sense to me. He said, it made perfect sense. Wow. And I think about that all the time. And if you teach your children to hate, they will learn it. They will hate. And to these guys, I mean, we look at them and go, how could they do that? It made perfect sense to them. And you could apply that to probably a lot of different parts of our world today. And you could apply it to the parts of the United States today. Some places we're better off because we don't do that anymore. But it's if you teach your children to hate, they will learn it. And this kind of stuff will make perfect sense to them. So it may be sobering, but it's also encouraging it because we're in control of that. So that's just my comment on the collection. And Jennifer, thanks for all your help, because it wouldn't have happened if she wouldn't have raised her hand and been willing to do it.
Amen.
So.